What if the sun disappears for 24 hours? Imagine waking up to find the world bathed not in the soft glow of morning, but in an endless ocean of black, the familiar warmth of sunlight erased in an instant, leaving behind only an eerie stillness, the very star that has guided every dawn and every dusk since the birth of civilization suddenly gone, not for eternity, but for exactly one day. At first, the change would feel surreal, like stepping into the beginning of a cosmic story where reality bends and time itself hesitates. But as the hours stretch forward, the consequences of this disappearance would unfold with a weight that is both terrifying and mesmerizing. Without the sun, the first thing you would notice is not silence, but darkness, an overwhelming curtain swallowing the skies where the bright disk once reigned. The stars would blaze more vividly than ever before, unchallenged by sunlight, while the moon, if present, would cast only a pale and inadequate reflection of a light that no longer exists. Street lamps, candles, and artificial illumination would flicker to life across cities worldwide, but their glow would feel futile against the enormity of a sky stripped of its central anchor. Within minutes, temperatures would begin to slide. Though the Earth holds on to heat for a short while, the absence of solar radiation would become noticeable very quickly. The comfortable warmth of late summer afternoons or crisp winter mornings depends entirely on the sun's relentless supply of energy. Without it, surface temperatures would begin dropping degree by degree, and within hours, people across the globe would feel the chills seeping into their bones. Winds would shift as the balance between warm and cold air collapsed, weather patterns thrown into chaos as the atmosphere searched in vain for equilibrium. By the 6th hour, vast regions would be plunged into conditions colder than the coldest nights of winter, regardless of season. Animals would panic. Birds navigating by the position of the sun would lose all orientation, their patterns of migration and instinct thrown into confusion. Nocturnal creatures might surge into activity, but even they would find the world too alien, too cold, too hostile for survival. Livestock would grow restless, pets unsettled, and ecosystems finely tuned to daily cycles would begin to unravel. Plants deprived of light would fall into stasis. Photosynthesis halts the moment the sun vanishes, and for one day, the lungs of Earth would hold their breath, unable to produce the oxygen and sugars that sustain nearly all life. Farmers would stare at crops frozen in shadow, knowing that a single day may not kill them outright, but sensing the fragility of a system that allows no interruption. By the 12th hour, humanity itself would feel the psychological weight more than the physical cold. Human beings are creatures of rhythm, our bodies attuned to light and dark, wakefulness and sleep. But now, the longest night ever recorded stretches without end. Fear and anxiety would ripple across societies, not only from the physical drop in temperature, but from the unsettling thought of being abandoned by the very star that has defined our existence. Questions would spread faster than answers. Where has the sun gone? Will it return? Is this the end of everything we know? Scientists would scramble to reassure the public, explaining that the Earth's orbit remains intact, that gravity binds us still, but their voices might struggle to calm billions staring into the abyss of the heavens. Governments would declare emergencies, distributing resources to combat plummeting temperatures. Fires would be lit on an unprecedented scale, heaters pushed to their limits, energy grids stretched to breaking as entire populations sought to fend off the deepening cold. Communities would huddle together in stadiums, schools, and halls, any place where collective warmth could fend off despair. In the oceans, the absence of solar warmth would spread more slowly, but with inevitable force. Surface waters would cool, altering currents, disturbing marine life that relies on light for navigation and sustenance. Coral reefs, already fragile, would slip further into stress as the light they depend on for symbiotic algae is stolen away. Deep beneath the surface, creatures accustomed to darkness would remain unaffected, yet the chain of life above them would falter in ways that would ripple downward. By the 18th hour, Earth would feel like an alien world. Ice would begin forming across lakes and rivers, even in regions that usually never freeze. Crops would droop, animals would weaken, and people would wrap themselves in layer upon layer of clothing, huddling near firelight that flickers against walls, with an intensity that feels primal, a return to the way humans once survived in caves during endless winters. Technology would offer some relief, but the psychological weight of that darkness would continue pressing heavily on everyone. Children would cry, adults would whisper, and the thought that perhaps the sun might never return would begin haunting minds. As the final hours approach, the world would stand on the edge of despair. 23 hours without the sun would feel like an eternity, and many would begin to imagine that life on Earth has entered its final chapter. Yet precisely as the clock approaches the 24th hour, a change would break through. A faint glow at the horizon, tentative at first, then stronger, growing into a brilliant blaze that spills across the sky as the sun reappears exactly where it should be. The first rays would feel like salvation. People would flood into the streets, not to panic, but to celebrate. Their faces lifted toward the light as tears of relief streamed down their cheeks. Birds would take flight again, plants would reawaken, and the earth would begin to thaw. The world would sigh in unison, reminded that the sun is more than a star. It is the heartbeat of existence itself. In the aftermath, societies would never look at the sun the same way again. What was once taken for granted would now feel like a fragile miracle, a reminder that life is balanced on a thread of cosmic consistency. The event would linger in memory, not just as a nightmare endured, but as a revelation of our dependence, our vulnerability, and our place in the vastness of the universe. And perhaps the final reflection would be this: if 24 hours without the sun could bring humanity to the brink of chaos, then what does that say about the fragility of the delicate systems we rely on every day without even noticing? What would happen then if one day the disappearance was not temporary, but forever? In the days and years after such an extraordinary event, humanity would be left not only with memories, but with profound questions about our existence. Scientists would analyze the exact consequences with new urgency, measuring how the sudden absence of solar radiation affected climate, ecosystems, and even the stability of the Earth's magnetic field. New models would be created to simulate scenarios of longer disappearances, preparing for possibilities that once belonged only to science fiction. Philosophers and thinkers would reflect on the meaning of dependence, how fragile civilizations truly are when even a single day without sunlight nearly collapses the systems that sustain us. Religions might see the disappearance as a sign, a test, or a revelation, inspiring both fear and renewed devotion. Artists would capture the experience in paintings, films, and songs, trying to translate the unfathomable strangeness of seeing a world without its guiding star. Politicians and leaders, too, would be forced to reconsider priorities, perhaps realizing that humanity's future depends on resilience and unity in the face of cosmic forces beyond our control. And for ordinary people, the event would reshape daily awareness. The sight of sunrise, once ignored in the rush of morning routines, would become sacred. The warmth on a child's face, the glow across fields and mountains, the shimmer of oceans under golden light, all would feel magnified in importance. The experience of losing the sun for one day would turn every dawn into a reminder of what almost slipped away. There would also be a renewed drive to look outward, to seek security among the stars, because if the sun could vanish even briefly, what other mysteries of the cosmos might threaten us? Space exploration would surge forward, not simply out of curiosity, but out of necessity, as people searched for answers about the universe and humanity's place within it. The question would remain in every mind: was the disappearance a fluke, a cosmic anomaly, or could it happen again? The event would stand as the most dramatic reminder that our lives are woven into the rhythm of celestial mechanics we barely comprehend. For every meal grown from sunlight, for every breath of oxygen forged in the alchemy of photosynthesis, for every heartbeat warmed by the rays of dawn, we are tethered to the star that shines at the center of our world. If one day without it could shake us to our core, then perhaps the lesson is that our existence is a gift, both fragile and extraordinary. And so the final thought would linger, carried like a whisper each morning as the sun rises again. What would happen truly if it did not return? Would humanity adapt, or would the earth itself fall into silence? The answer may never be tested, but the question ensures we never again take the sun for granted.